Hello and welcome. My name is Errity Green and this is Wise Women Oracle and Tarot. And today I am bringing you a pick a card reading on what is healed now. This means no more work, no more effort, no more having to do or change or fix a thing. Over the years, I've definitely settled more and more into just letting things be. And from that space of contentment and satisfaction and fulfillment and letting things arise from that place, as opposed to all the things that I want to change, right? From that place of lack, or this isn't good enough, I'm not good enough, this isn't enough, where I feel like I have to go into overdrive or fix something or achieve something to make something better. So I wanted to share that energy with you today. What is healed now? What do you no longer have to look at? You're done with it, you're moving on, you're carrying on, no more needing to heal, grow, fix, right? So I think this will be a reassuring and fulfilling and meaningful reading. So from here, I will place a picture up of your 3 card piles to choose from. As always, you are choosing from left to right. All right, card pile 1. What is healed now? So I feel like you went through a really deep shift, transformation in your life. This could have been a tower moment of some kind. If you're familiar with the tarot, some kind of dramatic shift or change in your life that turned everything upside down. And I feel like you were sort of taken aback, or the wind was knocked out of you from this. Maybe you gave up for a time. Maybe you decided, never mind, forget it, F this. It doesn't have to be that dramatic or that resistant or that angry, although more than likely when we experience dramatic life transformations, we encounter all levels and layers of that. But I feel like you got to a point where it's like that energy of just lying back and giving this big sigh of relief, like where for a long time you might have fought it. There might have been a lot of resistance, a lot of pushback, even anger, like we said. I feel like something shifted, something changed, and I feel like it was really hard for you to accept that change. It was really hard for you to, accept it. And in that acceptance and that lack of acceptance, to then move on or to let go. It's like, it was so deep and intense or whatever, or such a betrayal. It felt like that you were unable to let it go. You were unable to accept it. When I say a lack of acceptance, because sometimes we can say, oh, I did accept it. I have accepted it. But in this case, that acceptance means it really no longer affects you, right? It really doesn't have a hold or a pull on you. It doesn't occupy your attention or your energy field, right? When we've truly accepted something, it's basically we've let sleeping dogs lie. And I feel like you have gotten to that point. So what is healed? So far, we haven't gotten there all the way. We've hardly got through the reading, but what has healed? I feel like you've let things be. You've let sleeping dogs lie. You've let, what's the other saying? Bygones be bygones. And you've moved on and carried on. I really like the sound of letting bygones be bygones. It's almost like there's nothing you could do. There's no way to go back and change the past. And of course, we cannot rationalize ourselves into healing or acceptance. Please know that. Please know that I would never suggest that. It can help to reframe. Mindset is important. It's important to create space for or allow broader perspectives. They come about and up over time, typically speaking, where we're able to see things clearly and say things like that. But oftentimes in the beginning, we're not able to just carry on, or, well, I can't change it anyway. It's like, well, that doesn't cut it. Intellectually it might, but emotionally it often does not. But I feel like you have healed this. What has healed, or what is healed now, is you're at peace with this. You're at peace. You are at peace, card pile 1. I love that for you so much. Where at first you were in this energy of fighting, resisting, changing, conflict. What can I do? How can I fix this? How can I make it better? How can I change this? It's like that energy of, maybe even a warrior, but you don't have to identify with that archetype, where it's like, into a sigh of relief, or just a sigh, or simply carrying on. right? Letting bygones be bygones. You found peace. You've made peace with this change in your life. Let's see what else is here. Yeah, I feel like through this, so I'm getting a couple different messages here. I want to filter through them a bit. I see. So it's this energy of where you thought you had to be strong, where you thought you had to do the thing, fix the thing, change the thing, where you thought you had to be strong, kind of like that resistance, the anger, the fighting, the warriorship, whatever, the confronting of. It was always about just letting yourself be loved. You know, it was about letting yourself heal, not having to heal, not striving to heal, not making yourself heal, not forcing yourself to heal, not fixing yourself to heal, but letting yourself be healed, i.e., letting yourself be loved. And that can be a hard concept. Now, you're already there though, so it shouldn't be too difficult. Now it's just giving sort of words or perspective to your experience that you can look at it and say, oh, aha, now I get it. Now I see that is what it is. But we tend to think when something goes wrong or awry, or like, you know, maybe it didn't meet our expectations, and that's to say the least, right? When life doesn't meet our expectations, you know, that could be any number of crises or disasters or problems or challenges or hardships, loss. We tend to think we have to do something. We tend to think, oh, we have to fix it, or I got to make this better, and I will do better, and I promise I'll do better, and how could I, and how could you, and like all that stuff, right? And that is a valid stage of grief. So by all means, we have to allow ourselves to explore those stages. If you're familiar with, I think it's Kubler-Ross, although I don't know for sure the stages of grief. I remember learning about that in, was it 11th grade? Is that even a grade? I don't remember. Junior year in high school, all right? And so they've since remained with me to a degree. I don't remember all of them, like anger, bargaining, denial. Eventually it's acceptance. You've landed in that acceptance space where you've just been like, I'll open my arms, then I'll just let myself be loved. Nothing is required of me. Nothing needs to be done. There's nothing I need to do. There's nothing that needs fixing or healing. Like that happens to us, right? Instead of fighting it, resisting it, trying to change it, we get to a point where we just let go, we let be, and we let ourselves be loved. It's not that the strength is a problem, the conflict or the fighting or the pushing against and resistance and making it better and fixing it. It's not that energy is a problem. It's just that you were learning how to lean back and let yourself be loved through a healing process. And it's like that is what yourself, your guides, your angels, your high self, true self, soul, whatever, however you name it, identify it, understand it, was waiting for you to lean back and let yourself be loved and let things be at peace. Because when we let ourselves be loved, we're also finding peace, right? They tend to be relatively synonymous or interchangeable. Let's see what else is going on here. Oh my God. You guys. I love this. So where before it's like you were coming out of this energy of predictability and A plus B equals C and 1 + 1 = 2. And this is how it's done. And this is how it should be done. And this is how life should be. And this is how things should be. And this is how it's supposed to be. And this is how things are supposed to work for me. And this is how it's supposed to work out when I do this. And this is how it's supposed to work out when I do that, right? We have all these ideas, concepts, fixed ideas, rules, schemas about how life is supposed to be and what we are supposed to do and all the rules and shoulds and supposed tos, and not necessarily about what you're meant to do, but also how life is meant to perform, God, how it's meant to perform, how things are supposed to work out, how things are supposed to happen. We have these ideas, they might feel just, right? This is how it should be. There's sort of like a righteousness, self-righteousness in there. Like, yes, this is how it needs to be, should be, whatever. If I were in charge, if I were president, if I were God, that kind of energy. And it's like you were learning to step out of that and more into your, we'll say, quantum self or whole self, spirit self, integrating that aspect of you. Again, it was always more about leaning back. We could even say qualities of trust, faith, and surrender, more so than fighting it or sort of living in the mind of expectations, shoulds, rigid belief systems, and thinking that everything's going to be a certain way in a box, right? We can live within our box. We have an idea of how life is supposed to be in this box, how we're supposed to be in this box, how people are supposed to respond in that box. I think what shattered during this time for you, or what crumbled over time, well, in the moment, but then maybe you fought it some for a period of time, was that box, the box you'd put yourself in, life in, God in, spirit in, the world, people, whatever. And it was a loss of an identity around strongly held, rigidly held belief system, conceptions, ideas, et cetera, of like, again, how I should be, how this should be, how this should be, how this work out. And really, you weren't so much fighting sort of God, life, spirit, whatever it is you thought you were fighting. It was you were fighting yourself in terms of all the judgments and beliefs about the way that you thought life, the world, or spirit, or whatever should work. And you had to face the fact that maybe it didn't work the way that you thought it would. Let me give you an example. A lot of people think that if they do all the right things, that everything is going to work out. They think that if they do the right thing, if they're good to people, if they make the right decisions, if they're caring, if they're generous, if I pay my bills on time and I pay attention to my credit and I get married and have kids and invest myself in my children, they think if they do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, that means they're going to get a reward of some kind, right? They think like, oh, that means if I do these things, then I get to have these things, right? I get to be happy, or I get to be fulfilled, or I'm guaranteed job, a stability, a spouse, or whatever. And that's not true, right? I don't want to say it's not true objectively, but you had some ideas like that, judgments, beliefs, expectations, ideals, and ideas about how things should be. And all of that was confronted and ultimately crumbled because you found it wasn't true. You found it wasn't. This was a part of your expansion because that had to crumble in order for you to open up to maybe more unknowns, to mystery, to not knowing, to trusting even without certain outcomes, to trusting even when you don't do the right thing, trusting the intelligence to life. There is something else here, though. It's about, let me see what I can get for you. It was opening up to a higher power, a higher truth, something greater than you, bigger than you, unknown by you, that you don't have all the answers. You don't know how it all works. You don't know that it's all going to be A, B, C, D, E, F, G, that there isn't the kind of predictability or rigidity or linear kinds of things that you might have expected, right? More of those masculine structures, more of living in that box, more like science. A lot of that was crumbling so you could open yourself up to more of, we'll say, art, creativity, spirit. Like giving you an example between like science and art. So you can kind of, science is relatively methodical, right? And it's linear and it's predictable and it follows a formula, et cetera, right? Where creativity is open-ended, it's flexible, you can't control it, you can't generate it at will, you can't siphon it, it just has to come and it comes all on its own. And so just giving you something to distinguish there and work with, it's almost like something larger than you, something bigger than you, finding a higher power beyond what you think it's supposed to be. Now, I do want to ask, though, there was another energy, and I want to see how this benefits you. Hold on. Well, aside from the obvious, it's this energy of sort of satisfaction and contentment and okayness, or being okay, even though you don't know, even though you don't have the answers, even though you don't have the solutions, even though you don't have the 1, 2, 3 step formula, even though you don't have the template, like even without knowing for sure that it's all going to be okay anyway, like it's all going to be okay. It's this gentle faith, this gentle letting be, letting go. It kind of has that sort of Pocahontas feel if you've seen the movie where, she trusts the rhythm of life and the seasons and the animals, and they have this great trust with the elements and so on and so forth. And I just kind of get the energy where she's standing there, and the wind is blowing and she trusts all of that, and she doesn't need to know how or need to even understand it. It's just a letting be of. But I feel like this is a part of your path, a part of your destiny was coming into this higher awareness, we could say, higher consciousness, where you're sort of stepping aside, getting out of your own way and just trusting life as it is, the way it's presented, the way that it shows up, not trying to grasp it, control it, understand it, make sense of it, make it work for you, make it something that you can understand. Again, it's a lot more of a relaxed open state of being where you can enjoy and be in this life without having to know, without having to control, without having to predict, etc., etc. It opened you up to greater contentment, peace, joy, and satisfaction ultimately, because you're able to let things be and you're just much more relaxed. So that is what is healed now. I'm sure there's more for you there. I feel like there's a lot more I could say, but we are at 14 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and conclude your reading. Of course, if you find you're still curious or whatever, there are plenty more readings on this channel. I encourage you to like, subscribe, press the bell icon, do share this channel. You always have the opportunity to contribute below if it calls to you, if this reading in particular called to you. Follow me on the other social media platforms, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you, Card Pile 1. Card Pile 2, what is healed now? So I feel like there is a celebration in order. This feels very joyous, joyful. It feels like the energy of the time has come. It has arrived, or I have arrived. It feels like, joyous. And we'll see what else is here. I'm sure there's more here. It actually is relatively straightforward, so I'm hoping we can get more information. Usually we have to keep going and we can milk it a little bit more, and I can always pull more cards. But I feel like this could connect to card pile 1. If you feel like you were drawn to that at all, or were deciding between the two, it may connect with that. If you weren't at all directed toward or connected to card pile 1, then I wouldn't. I said card pile 2, but I meant card pile 1 that might be connected to card pile 2. So you might find that if you were, again, deciding between the two, that both could be relevant for you, because it feels like it might be chronological. Sometimes I do readings and I find that it goes 1, 2, 3, like it's showing me the chronology or the evolution of one path through all 3. I don't know that yet, though, because I haven't done card pile 3, but I just wanted to let you know that it could be connected to card pile 1. You can check that out if you find you want more, or that you were also drawn to that. But I do feel like you have arrived. The time has arrived. Whatever it is that you were looking forward to or hoping for or wanting, I feel like you have achieved it. It has arrived and it's here for you now, but I do feel like it came about in a way that you wouldn't have expected, that you wouldn't have predicted or thought up all on your own. I feel like this is something that sort of came by surprise and or just came about naturally, organically, in the unfolding and unfurling over time, where it was more about your own healing and your own journey and your own energy than it was any one particular thing or many particular things changing or popping up or whatever in your environment. It feels like you coming to peace with, or finding contentment or satisfaction or fulfillment with, or finding happiness with your situation, your circumstances, your conditions, your experience, your life. I do feel an element of having made peace with, and that's what reminded me of card pile 1 and why I thought that that could be a pattern or a theme here throughout the reading. Having made peace with something, or having just made peace with things as they are or as it is, not feeling like things. It's interesting because the whole theme of this reading, like in general for all 3 card piles, was all about what is healed now. And I wanted to do that reading because I wanted to share and sort of impart that idea that we don't always have to be working, and that healing is already happening, and oftentimes it's done, and we don't have to keep pursuing it, chasing it. Like, we can let healing happen, or let it happen for us, to us, without us having to like strive for it, make it happen, do it, achieve it, whatever. And so that's what I'm feeling like. I'm feeling like this sort of happened right underneath your nose without even you knowing it. You sort of settled in and you found yourself in a peaceful place, you know, kind of like the energy of sitting on the porch, watching the clouds go by, drinking your lemonade and sweet tea, or sweet tea. It doesn't have to be and, or maybe you're drinking both. And you're just vibing with life and enjoying yourself, and you're at peace with how things are, where they are. Now, I feel like what this is doing, so when we say what has healed or what is healed now, perhaps this could have been, we might get into it more as we go. I'm having to pick up on what I think the opposite energy would be, because the opposite energy isn't here. That's why I said it might be in card pile 1, because if I just get all one energy, no contrast, then that it can sometimes suggest that the contrasting energy is in an earlier card pile and an earlier phase of your life. So I don't have the message or the energy here at the moment, but some of my guesses could be, you know, you might have spent a lot of time working towards something, striving towards something, trying to achieve something, make something happen, create something, achieve something, whatever. And I feel like you have settled into and relaxed into a more peaceful place in your life and world where nothing in particular outside of you or external to you needs to happen in order to make you feel good or better or at peace. Does that make sense? So what is healed now? It could be your striving to achieve, do, experience, create, produce. And there's nothing wrong with that energy. But sometimes we spend our entire lives in that energy. There comes a season or a time in our life where we settle down, settle in, and allow ourselves just to relax into all that we've already created versus continuing to create more. It's like the opportunity to sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride, the life that you've created and built for yourself, and instead of continuing to sort of go on to the next frontier, the next frontier, the next frontier. An idea, like a similar metaphor or an example would be like, let's just say you were a pioneer out west, when in the United States, when they were pioneering out into the Western lands. I don't know exactly anymore when that occurred, but let's just guess. I know it's in the 1800s at some point. And let's just say you did it once and then you just kept going west and then you kept going west. And you're like, well, I'm going to cross the ocean and then I'm going to keep going. And it's like, why don't you just settle down, settle in, settle down, take your plot of land and relax, And I'm sure there's work to do on the farm out west. But my point is like sort of letting yourself settle into the foundation or the roots or whatever that you've already created and built versus always having to push forward, push for more, bigger, faster, bolder, brighter. It's like just letting things be and letting yourself settle in and relax into what's already here as opposed to moving on to the next frontier. Doesn't mean there won't be another frontier. I do get the energy that that could come at a future time, but it would be more so from the callings of your heart. And that's the key here, is where before I feel like you were driven, you were always moving. There was always movement, forward momentum or forward progress or just motion towards something, and maybe it was because you wanted to, it could be any number of things. Again, I'm not getting all the energy here. So it could be because what is healed now. If it's healed, sometimes the energy is just not there. But perhaps you're trying to prove yourself or convince yourself or, believe yourself worthy or whatever. We tend to go out in the world trying to prove ourselves in really big ways when we're in that energy. But it's not showing exactly what yours is here. All of that to say what it is saying is you're getting yourself to this really deeply relaxed place to where you sort of let go of all the old stuff, all the old inklings, all the old inclinations, all the old drivers, the things that used to move and push and urge you to go do this, go do that, go try this, go try that, move on, do this, grow, whatever your thing was, your shtick. And you let go. And then now you're closer to the inklings of your heart, the impulses of your heart that might be a little bit quieter, that might be a little bit more subtle or nuanced or whatever. When we're out there, going for it, run the marathon and jumping the hurdle and hiking and climbing and all these big things. And that's metaphorical, but even could be actual movement. But we're out there trying to survive and create and achieve and strive. It's hard to hear that. It's hard to hear the truth of your own being, the truth of your own heart, what truly fulfills you, satisfies you. Where you can find it, however, is when you finally relax. And so I feel like you're settling into, but that's not even the best word. It feels like a relaxing into life as it is now, the way it is now. You have found well enough foundation or stability for yourself where you're able to be relaxed. Excuse me. So like what I mean by that is, when we're living in survival mode, we tend to be go, 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 do, achieve. That can be based in self-worth or belief in lack or poverty or whatever. And also very much real impoverishment in terms of not having enough resources, right? Not having enough finances, et cetera, et cetera. Once we get to a point where we establish a foundation, we're able then to let our hair down a little bit more, settle in a little bit more, let things go, let things be a little bit more. And that's really what this time of your life is about, is enjoying it, enjoying what you do have here, celebrating life. That could take any number of forms, but it's just like really enjoying your life as it is. The people in your life, your home, even just your everyday routines, really enjoying your life as it is. Let yourself just be at peace. Let yourself just live your life, as opposed to sort of grand ideals or big ideas or big dreams or big visions and what's next and the new growth. And like, we can constantly want to like grow, strive, achieve, right? And this is more about being at peace with enjoying and celebrating what's right here where you're at. But the thing is I'm just giving words to where you're already at, because right now, like that, isn't that the reading? What is healed now? So you should already be well aware of this, or at least entering it. And now I'm giving words to it, right? Shouldn't be necessarily something new. This should be something that you're feeling. And now I'm giving words to it. And you're like, yes, that's it. Should be affirming it for you. Like, that's exactly right. No longer push. It's no longer push comes to shove, and pushing and shoving to get to the top, climbing to the top, climbing to be fed, climbing to get your share. It's like not that energy. It's, going out west and having to, do all the things that you have to do on that kind of pioneering adventure. And well, do we want to say adventure? I mean, I guess it could, I don't know if they would consider it an adventure. Let's just say that it was a hardship. It was a challenge. And now you found enough foundation, stability, or peace in one way or another to allow yourself to relax. And then this is going to bring you closer to your heart. This is going to bring you closer to what really moves you, satisfies you. You're going to get so much clearer on what's important to you and what matters most. I feel like you're already feeling that and knowing that. You're either on the edges of it, feeling the inklings of it, or right there in the heart of it, of really knowing what matters and realizing a lot of this stuff that maybe you fought for before, or wanted, or strive for, or achieved aren't really necessary for a satisfying life. That it doesn't make it wrong or bad that you can't have those things, or work for those things, but that you don't always have to be working for those things. And sometimes you don't even have to do it at all to be at peace, to enjoy your life, and to be satisfied and fulfilled. Yeah. So, oh my gosh, I love this for you. So I feel like you were growing out of this energy of when we try to control life, and sometimes it's necessary, right? I mean, it's a dog eat dog world out there at times. And I know that is a belief. You don't have to subscribe to that belief. But let's be honest, objectively, I'm sure even the animals would agree, and they don't have the same kind of consciousness we do, as far as we know. They very well might. But they would probably argue it's a dog eat dog world out there. And, we can get into this habit of trying to control and trying to secure and trying to do and trying to fix and trying to make happen and force outcomes, and that energy, because it's what's required, right? Some examples might be, working 2-3 jobs to survive, and like paying the bills and answering the calls and the emails and da, 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 da. I mean, there's so many things, right? We're talking laundry, we're talking dishes, we're talking all the things required to uphold and sustain a life in modern Western culture. It might not look like this everywhere else in the world. But I feel like you got a lot of that down pat. I feel like this paradoxical energy where it's like, I feel like you, in some ways, you're kind of coming out of that kind of mentality or experience of survival, and you're able to now move into a place of higher evolution where you're able to let yourself relax. And if you're familiar with Maslow's hierarchy, you know that the bottom rung of that pyramid is all about securing resources for survival. And then it's only the top layers that allow for, personal development or self-actualization or whatever, well-being and health. But I feel like you've secured something, here in the bottom layer of this, or level of this pyramid, so that you can now actually sit back and relax a little bit more. And I feel like enter any frontiers that you do from here. Let's just say you do go to venture out west again, so to speak, for a new project, a new venture, a new job, career, project, creative project, whatever. It's going to be from a place of satisfaction, contentment, fulfillment. It's going to be from a place of, I really genuinely want this, because if I didn't want it, I wouldn't be doing it, because I don't need it, right? It's coming from a place of not, I need this to happen, but I want this to happen. Because again, right, you're filtering everything now, because now you are relaxed and at ease and at peace and fulfilled. You don't really need anything else to satisfy you, fill the void, or fulfill you. So now whatever you move toward must be something you genuinely, sincerely like or desire. Otherwise, you wouldn't be going after it, right? If we don't have the void anymore, if the void is full, because we are satisfied, at peace, we're not going to be seeking external agents, external things, people, places, work, career, projects, whatever, in order to fill that hole, fill that void. You're already at wholeness, at one-ment. I know that's there for atonement, but you're, I feel like the heart is full. So you're not having to go feed through any other agent, and you're able just to be at peace with who you are, where you are. And the flip side of this, though, I feel like this has brought you into your own power as well, where you feel relatively secure. You feel relatively resourced. You feel relatively supported. You feel like you know how to handle life, take care of yourself, manage things, come what may. You feel like you trust yourself, trust in yourself. I feel like you're at a place where you're like, I could pretty much handle anything. I know that I could survive anything. I know that I could adapt to anything. I know that I can solve any problem that comes my way. I trust myself. I know that even if I don't know what life is going to do or what curveballs it's going to throw, that I'll be able to respond accordingly and do what must be done to secure a life for myself. I feel like you've developed this energy within yourself of self-trust, of security, of stability, of support, of feeling well resourced, and even for some of you, well financed, where it doesn't have to be like you have extra or anything. It could be that. But for me, it feels like you don't feel like you have to work to survive. Like you're not at the bottom of the barrel just trying to make it all work. You've gotten to a point where you're able to sit pretty to a degree. Yeah, this was the evolution that was calling you, card pile 2. So what is healed now? I feel like it's that survival mode has been healed. I feel like that striving to achieve, to do, to create, to make happen, to go out west, to whatever it is, whatever that striving and driving kind of energy was within you, I feel like that has relatively been, we'll say, conquered or overcome, meaning you've developed the necessary foundation, resources, security, stability, and support where you are able to more so sit pretty than have to like work so hard. And you've gotten yourself to a place where you're not going to just pursue anything and everything. You're no longer needing something out there to fulfill you or fill a void. And so anything that you do move toward at this point, you can trust is of the heart and is true for you and authentic. It feels like the energy of, let's just say, I have this energy of sort of this well-to-do older man, and you're not going to, all of you are not going to be well-to-do and be a man, but I'm saying, think of this energy, because I get this energy of someone who's cannot be bothered because they are so satisfied and full and content. They cannot be bothered, but they will be, and they will be moved by something that genuinely, truly, authentically inspires them. But nothing else would cut it. And that's where you found yourself at. You now know what matters. You now know the truth. You now know what love is. Love with a capital L, like a general force, not necessarily romantic love. And you have found sort of a higher plane of existence within yourself and in your life. So good work, card pile 2. I am curious to hear your thoughts, your feedback, your comments. Do share those, like, subscribe, press the bell icon. Do check me out and partner with me. Well, connect with me on my other social media platforms, and I will see you next time. Thank you, card pile 2. Card pile 3. What is healed now? Sorry, my camera's shaking. Just give me a minute. What is healed now? Okay, so card pile 3, you have been in a space of solitude, of being on your own. I feel like of doing self-reflection, doing the work, the inner work, the shadow work, looking at yourself, sort of separating yourself from life, separating yourself from love, even maybe from family and friends. And I feel like you found yourself in sort of a quiet place within yourself on your own that led to some deep, dark healing. Like, I feel like so much it wasn't that it could be that something dramatic shifted, happened, whatever, transformation that then led you to be a hermit, which then led to healing. But I feel like it's more like your solitude and your aloneness led to your having to face a number of things you otherwise wouldn't have faced. This is connected to love or love lost. And the reason I say this is because I have 2 cards here, or 3 associated with love. Well, how many more? 4? So I do feel like this is love or relationship oriented. Now, does this mean it has to be romantic love? Not necessarily. Although I think for most of you who have chosen card pile 3, it'll be something along those lines. But I do feel like there was a loss here, one form of another. It could be that romantic loss in terms of a breakup or a divorce, the breakup of a relationship, but it very well could be the loss of a parent or the loss of a loved one, the loss of a child, the loss of a friend. I don't like assuming that I know what kind of relationship it would be, especially at the beginning of a reading, but I do feel like there was a grave loss in some sector of your life that led you to sort of trail off and follow your own path for a time so you could find yourself again. So you could find who you are beyond this loss, after this loss, through this loss. It's almost like that energy of, well, this is gone. And now I don't even know who I am or what I am to do or what I like or what I don't like or whatever. And so you venture out on this quest, sort of on a vision quest, but also a discovery, a self-discovery quest that ended up healing you. What is healed now? I feel like it's going to have to do with this loss here, where I feel like it was always meant to bring you through a deep excavation, reflection, and discovery period of finding oneself, of finding even true self. It's almost like you never knew or sought out to find what you've discovered or uncovered, but you did anyway. It's almost like when someone runs from a grave loss or a very, any kind of devastating circumstance or loss. It's not like they're like, well, I'm going to go find myself now. I'll see you guys later. But maybe they do travel around the world. Maybe they do go off and, hike the Appalachian Mountains. Some people just have to carry on with life, but life changes. Maybe people shift out of their lives. New people shift in. Some people leave jobs behind. Some people go on sabbaticals. Some people start new jobs. Some people just kind of disappear into the monotony and minutia of everyday life. So your experience could look any different, but if we were to think of it sort of metaphorically or sort of in kind of like the stories that we hear, the myths, it'd be someone who goes on that vision quest and ventures off with only themselves and their staff, and they walk off into the distance, into the horizon, and they're off to journey to find themselves. And when they're having to stop and get food and stop and, use the toilet out in the wilderness and all these things, they're not thinking, well, I'm finding myself now, aren't I? It's not like that. But over the course of that period of that journey, of that great journey, that's what this is. It's the hero's journey. It's the heroine's journey. It's the hero's journey. Like la-di-da-di-da. Like it's so obvious. That's what it is. Okay. Thankfully, I got the words now. But you ventured off and you don't necessarily know what's happening in the moment, but upon reflection, we usually do. And we do have these sort of fairy tales of the hero and heroine's journey. Hello, every Disney movie ever, but also every movie ever. And most lives follow that same arc, right? Of losing oneself, finding oneself, and returning to the tribe kind of thing. But it usually just even summing it up, losing oneself, finding oneself, but also finding a deeper awareness or deeper connection with self, like a deeper occupation of oneself. So you ventured off. And I feel like as a result of, but on the journey of, on this quest, you ultimately found a new you, a new experience, a new embodiment of you. And again, I don't even think you asked for it, knew what was happening, but that is what was happening. And I feel like you were having to face a lot. You were having to face your inner world. So we're talking sensations, emotions, thoughts, all that stuff that comes up to play when we are more alone or solitudinal. And it's sort of like the Buddha too, where he stepped away, went on this solo quest, faced all of his demons, and ultimately found enlightenment. It sort of has that feel to it. Not that necessarily you are enlightened, but enlightened to more of you, enlightened to more of life, to self, to all things, where you walk back with a much more awakened heart, that bodhicitta in Buddhism, where it's like the loving kindness, the open heart, the wide open heart, where you come back a new and different person, and it's for the better. And even though you were hurt or challenged or whatever from this loss, a lot of people can become bitter or angry or hardened. And it doesn't mean those elements aren't there or haven't been there. And for some of you, they might still be there and you're on the cusp of this and entering this. But again, because this is healed now, and that's the reading, I'm going to assume it's already here. You've come back a more wide open hearted person, a deeper person, a truer person, a more connected and compassionate person. I'm also a more spiritually connected person. So I think this journey took you to places you never thought you'd go, inside and outside. And as a result, again, faced all of your demons, but also found some truth on that journey within and without. I feel like a greater security in you, a greater trust or even truth in you, where you're sort of operating in the world as part of the world. I don't mean like the 3D sort of mental and masculine and human construct world. I mean like, a tree is a part of nature and its natural ecosystem. It doesn't have to think about being a tree or how it's supposed to be a tree or what it's supposed to do as a tree or how it's supposed to serve as a tree. It just is a tree. Okay. So it's kind of like that, where you've connected much more with life itself, with your greater ecosystem, the greater spiritual ecosystem, much more at peace with, in faith with, and alongside life itself and all that is than ever before. I do feel like love, though, is a new opportunity for you. This could be romantic love for some of you. For some of you, it could be new love and other forms. So maybe new friendships on the horizon or in your life now. Some of you, new children or children being born. Perhaps your loved one is pregnant or you are pregnant. This feels like just new love entering your world, entering your life. This could also be a new lover, meaning partner or companion or spouse to come, because it's showing that you lost a love. And we already got that earlier too. And now I feel like you're coming into a time where love, and it doesn't have to be, again, that form of romantic love, but I feel like it's coming up in new forms for you now, where it's almost like, what is healed now? This is healed. So if you wanted to seek out having a child or having another child, or if you wanted to seek out, I had to sneeze, but if you wanted to seek out, potentially dating or things like that, and more so making yourself available for, you could now, you'd be in that energy now. This is healed now. You sort of patch things up, become your new self, and you've moved on. This is healed now. Let me see what else wants to say here. Yeah, you went through a deep healing and surrender. Through that loss, you surrendered an old version of yourself. And then on that journey or that quest where you were oftentimes on your own or in solitude, through the sort of inner work that you were more or less forced into doing because of the loss of this situation, experience, circumstance, person, and then being alone, you were forced to look at yourself more deeply, and you just came to know life and truth in the depths more truthfully, right? The subconscious and neurosis and how our inner demons work. And I just feel like you came to know things in yourself and life so much better. And there was something else here. Oh, yeah, you surrendered that old self. So it's like when and some of you, this could be triggering, but I don't think it is. I'm not getting a lot of resistance energy or even frustrating energy. I think it's because this is what is healed now. So if this was in the middle of it, or I was telling you, oh, this might be worthwhile to heal, there'll probably be some resistance because it's the beginning. But you're at the tail end of this. This journey has already been made. You've already come full circle. You're now back home, I will say. Back home, we could say, within yourself, back home within yourself, but also back home. So if you ventured out and crossed the world or went on a sabbatical or whatever, you are back sort of in your hometown and you've made the journey. And now it's time to, what they would say in the hero heroine's journey is then it's time to share what you've learned. I don't know if you're there yet in terms of sharing, because I don't feel like a sharing energy. I still feel a to the self energy, but no doubt that oftentimes comes. Yeah, it does actually. That's funny. Yeah, so what happens? You became a much more well-rounded, whole person, someone who is healed, more connected to the heart, like we said, more connected to nature, to life itself, more connected to loved ones, to love itself, just a more centered, grounded, healthy, harmonious, loving human being, and a version of enlightenment, certainly an expansion of yourself, or just a greater knowing and embodiment of the truth as it is. Let me see what else here. I feel like through loss, there was a rising of yourself, of new self, of a more expanded self, a different version of you. What we call that, what is it? The phoenix, the rising of the phoenix. But it doesn't feel like this force, protective, strong, boundaried energy that just like the phoenix, like we get from that kind of energy. It feels soft and it feels humbled and it feels broken, but also whole and together. It's like that whole thing that we hear about where something breaks. So maybe it's a ceramic heart and it breaks, but then you put the pieces slowly back together and it's mosaic now. So it's not necessarily whole and complete in that way, but it is whole and it still makes a heart, but it has a lot of shattered pieces. And what do they say? The pain is where the light comes in, something like that. And so, yeah, you went through a deep transformation, but this feels also very spiritual transformation, very like a self-transformation, maybe even a whole new person, a whole new embodiment of this personality that you are on earth at this time. I do feel like you are available for love now, if that's something that you want to pursue. And then let me see what else wants the final message here for you. Let me check in. Got it. So card pile 3, I feel like you're free now. You've made this journey. You've come full circle. Well, it is healed, right? That's the message of the whole reading. What is healed now? And this is it. So, you are free. You're free to do whatever's next for you. Is that settling in, settling down? Is that moving on to new territories, new people, again, new relationship? Is that pursuing a new dream, a new career? Is it sharing the wisdom that you learned, gained, whatever? But it's like whatever you meant, whatever, you can do it now. You're free. You have sort of crossed go. You've beat the level. The challenge is over and you've done it. You are on the other side of this. This is a heart healing for you. This is spiritual healing for you. This is a deeply personal transformation for you. And I feel like you are very healed and whole, even so much that you'd be able to share that with other people, whether in casual connection and relationship, just like friends, family, neighbor, but also in romantic relationships. I feel like you bring a profound presence into the game, so to speak, this energy that makes ongoing healing available for you, but also for other people. There is more here. I could share more, but we are at time. So I want to thank you, Card Pile 3. Excuse my voice. If this lands for you, resonates, do share a story in the comments, like, subscribe, press the bell icon, connect with me on the other social media platforms. And thank you, Card Pile 3. I will see you soon. Take care.